Lamar Jackson.
Big Keith Trailer. Look at him rumble.
Here we are again then, Utter Punch, just you and me. Same kind of moon, same kind of jungle. Real week number 11. Gonna have me some fun.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl. Touchdown! No! No! 24-yard attempt. Oh, he hits the upright. It's no good. Derek Johnson, the all-time leading tackler in the history of the Chiefs. And he misses it. That's impossible. The Cardinals have knocked the Vikings out of the playoffs.
Utter Punts is an NFL podcast made by the UK fans of the National Football League. We're blitzing the conversation all season long. I'm journalist and Giants fan Liam Bradford, backed up by a Vikings fan that's growing smugger by the day. Dave Keane joins us from Birmingham.
Hello there, mate. How's it going?
Yeah,
I'm loving a bit of Kirko Cousins at the moment.
Smug.
Much better than that Kirk Cousins guy we used to have. Kirko. Knocking out everybody.
10-second ad-lib turned into 25. Alongside me here in Manchester is Ravens fan, the stat man, Dan.
Gotta love the NFL, haven't you? 1 week on and all of a sudden it's a Brady Rodgers NFC Championship game coming up.
What on earth has been going on there? Absolutely nuts. We'll have a look at it as always. On the way, the big game reviews, a look ahead to week 11, our utter punts of the week, and we'll help you make some money with our big bet builder. Thanks for being with us, you utter punts. Right, beautiful work. How's everybody's week been? Dan, you had a good week so far?
Yeah, it's been good. Recovered from Sunday, which was just a bizarre sort of witching hour, one of those classic witching hour Sundays in the NFL, and then the 9 o'clock game didn't disappoint either in that sort of respect. So recovered from that and, cracking on, bolting on into week 11. On we go.
I've got to say that is not the conversation that we had before we came on air. Dan was actually very, very moody about several things that had happened to him this week. You've cheered up now we've started, haven't you?
Yeah. Got to get over these things, haven't you? Got to get over it and move on, just like the Bills.
Dave, how's your week been so far?
Do you know what, mate? It's been productive in the office. It's been all right, and quite frankly, nothing's really mattered after Sunday night. That was crazy. I'm still drained now. It would be really, really good. And if I'm honest, I didn't really expect us to win right at the end like that, but we'll talk about this later, and I'll carry on being smug as hell, regardless of the pack.
I noticed that you've taken down the Kyle Mond Appreciation Society website, Dave.
He hasn't. He's left it up. He's just handed over leadership.
I've launched the new one, Kirko Cousins.
Cousins.
Clutch King. The fourth quarter Cutthroat. There's many things we can say about Kirk that are true this year, but never were before.
We are definitely not letting that stick. We are not calling him the fourth quarter Cutthroat ever again. ever. Look, we're doing things slightly differently this week on Utter Punts. A lot of that down to just how mental it was in the last sort of 48 hours, Sunday into Monday it was just completely nuts. So we're going to do things slightly differently, which means we're actually starting a little bit further on than we normally would. We are going to start, in fact, with week 10 in the NFL being completely mental. As crazy as a monkey on a tricycle is what I've got written down here. Here it is, nearly all of it neatly wrapped up for you. That'll all become clear in a sec. Let's start the review this week, shall we, at Falcons at Panthers. And, it didn't quite go as we thought it would, did it? It won't be the last time that the punts got thrown through a loop this week either. A 25-15 win for the Cat team against the Bird team. Donta Foreman coming off the back of yet another injury, rushing for 130 yards off 31 carries. That's the most by a Carolina running back in nearly 20 years. The Falcons are now 4-6, which means the Bucs, with a record of 5-5, are alone atop the NFC South. Remember me saying that it wouldn't be the last time that the Punts got thrown through a loop? Brady and the Bucks beating Geno and the Seahawks 21-16 in Munich. The Bucks found all of their big targets too. Julio Jones and Chris Godwin both caught touchdown passes, and Leonard Fournette ran one in as the Bucks snapped the Seahawks' 4-game winning streak. Cowboys at Packers next. Right, hold on. Why did Aaron Rodgers wait until this weekend to finally identify his new big play target? A 31-28 win in overtime means the Packers break their 5-game losing streak, and Rodgers threw 3 touchdown passes to rookie Christian Watson before a 55-yard drive to set up the field goal for Mason Crosby. Here's the rookie after the game.
12 and Matt both said early, we're going to come back to you. Obviously, that hit me at home. Obviously, I know that those are plays I can make. Those are plays that, I make every day at practice and just something I know I'm capable of. So, obviously, just having that to fall back on, just knowing, I'm still in it. We're still good. They still got faith in me. It means the world.
Chargers at 49ers, and finally we're back on some solid ground with a well-predicted win for the Niners. And although it wasn't the blowout it promised to be, it was still one that we got right, so we'll take it. As much as we thought we might get a glimpse into the Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey offensive future of the Niners, it was actually the ever-reliable defense that got it done in Santa Clara. A 22-16 win leaves the Niners one spot behind the Seahawks, having played a game less. Commanders at Eagles, Vikings at Bills. Look, there was just a bit too much going on in both of these games to put them in the roundup, so stay where you are. The Punts are going to talk about them properly. It seems to make sense for us to talk about them absolutely as it's supposed to be. What are you laughing at already?
Just some behind the scenes work going on with me and Dave at the moment.
Oh, is there some texting happening?
Just sent me a love heart. That's how happy we are.
Oh no, what have you two been planning? Where should we start at Commanders Eagles, and we'll just make Dave wait a little bit longer to talk about Vikings at Bills. These two games were completely mental, Dan.
Yeah, we thought the Commanders would keep it close, and then because we thought they'd take the run game away from the Eagles, is what we thought, and make the Eagles a bit one-dimensional. They also took away A.J. Brown. I think he had one catch, which did put them under pressure. But ultimately, the Eagles didn't get enough plays in the game. The Commanders controlled the clock. They controlled the time of possession, and they just kept the ball away from the Eagles. That said, you're probably one bad call and one terrible fumble away from the Eagles winning the game anyway. Despite that, but it did expose the flaw in the Eagles, though. So the flaw in the Eagles without Jordan Davis, and we spoke about it on the podcast, was that they can't stop that central run without Jordan Davis in the team, and he's not going to be in for a few weeks yet. And the Commanders ran through them in that line. And they've got Jonathan Taylor coming up this week, so it'll be exposed again, you would think. But the Commanders had a great game plan, and in these games, you don't have to be off your game much or have too many bad calls go against you or bad things happen, like the Quez Watkins fumble when he catches the ball and he's wide open, and they're going in to score a field goal there and win the game. For him to bounce up and then fumble the ball, those things happen from time to time. The Dallas Goedert fumble when he's clearly being face-maxed and drops the ball, those things happen. You've got to get over it. The Eagles are the better team. There's no doubt about that. They're a good team. Actually getting a bloody nose this time of the season is a bad thing, but the game was brilliant, and Heineke's fun to watch. Regardless of what you think of him, he's fun to watch, and he knows how to win a game because he knows how to get the ball to his best player, which is Terry McLaurin.
Dave?
Taylor Heineke is a gamer. I think Dan called him Brett Favre light, or a touch of Brett Favre about him last week. He will do what he thinks he needs to do in order to try and get his team back in the game, and he can be trusted to put himself on the line. He was on the Vikings, and he actually had the opportunity to be the starter when Teddy Bridgewater went down and missed out on it because he put his foot through a glass door, having got locked out of his apartment on holiday, because he was the one who should break them back in. He puts himself on the line for people in silly ways. But the Eagles have come out of this game weaker than when they went into it. Dallas Goedert is now on injured reserve. I don't know how long he's going to be on there for.
At least 4 weeks.
Yeah, it kind of opens up that division again. to an extent. I don't expect the Eagles to stutter too much, but it can have an impact. And they've been poor in second halves of games all season. I don't think they scored any points when they played the Vikings either, when they absolutely hammered us in the first half. And these things can catch up with you if suddenly your strength goes away, if suddenly you can't blow someone out early, and then you still got the bad habits in the second half where you're not making halftime adjustments maybe. It can start to turn around on you, but I think the Eagles have got a good enough head coach and a really good coaching staff. I think that they will start to make these second half adjustments and probably get stronger as the season goes on. And as Dan said, it's probably not a bad thing to get a bloody nose at this point in the season. At least it's not happening later on when you need to win. So we'll see.
You've preempted the question that I was going to ask there, so instead of asking it, we're just going to move on. Don't forget to like and subscribe, get stuck in, share it with a friend, all of that jazz about the podcast, and you can stay in touch with us on the socials. Instagram and Twitter, the best places to do that, at @UtterPuntsPod on Twitter, at @UtterPuntsUK on Instagram. That's where you'll find all of the details that you need to know about any bets that we've got, anything that we're putting out to you, and how to get in touch if you want to have your say on any of the subjects that we're talking about. Right, it's time. It's time to talk about potentially game of the season, definitely catch of the season, right?
Yeah, unbelievably. That Diggs catch was absolutely class in that one.
It was incredible. Like, I mean, you're never going to see a better catch from that. Oh,
yeah.
Give it a minute.
Look, let's take it from the top. This was wide open, Dave. From the beginning, these two just went at it hammer and tongs, didn't they?
They were better than us in the early going. I mean, we scored on our first drive, did our customary shut down, not being able to move the ball. Somehow, there's just leaders all over the team at the moment. I think there's so much to be said for a head coach who gives room for people to step up and lead themselves. Kirk does things in his way. That's not really who I'm talking about here. He doesn't do anything wrong, but and you know, he's been playing well. But Patrick Peterson, what a leader. Zadarius Smith, what a leader. We already had Eric Hendricks. We already had Harrison Smith in the secondary, and now, I mean, Harrison Phillips played against the Bills and had an astounding game. I mean, he was integral to so many big plays and kind of went unnoticed, but that was a little revenge game for him, I guess. They didn't consider him good enough for a second contract. I thought he was brilliant. But it was a weird game. I mean, the Bills got away with having 12 men on the field for a play, which pretty much meant that we couldn't win the game late. Things seemed to go in their favours to get it to overtime, including the catch by Clay Davis, which clearly wasn't a catch. Although, as Dan put in our WhatsApp chat, the floor did a good job of catching it. So, you know, one of the swings and roundabouts, but it was unreal. And the Vikings do this to you. It's why I'm glad I picked them, even though we're probably never going to win anything because it's the Vikings, right? The Minneapolis Miracle was special. There was a series of ridiculous feats in this game from both teams, and it was such a good game to watch. The Bills, can't compliment them enough. 2 years in a row, they've probably been in game of the year. And Stefan Diggs, what an absolute diamond, what a start. But Justin Jefferson, Spider-Man? Like, how do you do that?
I still don't know how he's caught it. Dan, you're a neutral. What did you make of this game? It was nuts, wasn't it?
It's the wrong sport, but it's the ultimate game of two halves, wasn't it? The Bills were dominant after the Vikings' first drive. They've commented the Bills put them right in the box and looked like a championship team against a non-championship team for large swathes of the game. And I wonder if they just got a bit complacent. Certainly, Josh Allen, he was putting passes out. He didn't need to make those passes, and they were going for passes when they should have just been taking 3 points, but they were trying to put a nail in the coffin, I think, and they got a bit overconfident. Yeah. That's how it looked as a neutral. And in these games, you know, the Vikings, you say what you want. I mean, we tip them for the North because the talent they've got, if they stayed healthy on offense and defense, you know, Dalvin Cook, Angela Johnson, great combination in the backfield. Kirk Cousins, stable, top 12 quarterback every year, in and out. Has good games, had bad games, but he never really kills you. Good line, good defense. There's Harrison Smith, Patrick Peterson. and their wideouts, their offensive weapons now with Hawkinson. You've got Hawkinson, Thielen, you've got KJ Osborne, you've got Justin Jefferson. I mean, they are loaded on every single aspect of the field. So if you give a team like that any sort of chance, there's a chance that those sort of special players will make special plays. And I think the Vikings did that, and it seemed to give them such belief that they weren't put away, that they somehow were still in the game, that they then just started taking their chances. And at that point, the Bills looked like they really crumbled under the pressure a little bit, not for the first time. And it's something we haven't seen from Josh Allen really for a couple of years, but he did look a bit like his old self, has to be said. My cousin is a Bills fan. He was travelling into Europe at the time, and he sort of fears this from Josh Allen in big spots, in big games, and certainly in playoff games. He fears it. And it came to fruition a little bit on Sunday, but what a game to watch. I mean, what a reason to watch the NFL. It's just a fantastic sport. You never know when it's done. You're hooked every week now because someone else can do that. And these 17-point comebacks this year are just something you've never seen before. It's every week. Someone's coming back from 17 points down every week and turning it round. And it's fantastic to watch, whoever's involved. It's just a great sport.
It's been great. Can we just, before we go any further, I know we've sort of spoken about it briefly on 2 occasions, but can we just go over that Justin Jefferson catch, right? If you've not seen it, just type Justin Jefferson in on either Instagram or Twitter. You'll find it straight away. It's the top video. It is the most unbelievable piece of athleticism you will see, arguably, in any sport in 2022. It's astonishing.
It's the hand strength and the ability to prevent that ball from hitting the floor. When you actually come down and watch it in slow-mo, he lands on his own head and still holds on to it with one hand, having ripped it away from a defensive back who had two hands on the ball. He was at full stretch in much the same way Diggs was earlier in the game. I mean, still, what a catch from Diggs that was. Unreal. And then Jefferson just does the same thing, but this time under pressure from a defensive back. Apparently Cousins in the huddle before that throw turned around to Jefferson and said, if a play breaks down, be ready. I might just throw it to you. And Jefferson went, okay.
Yeah. For me, it was, you talk about great catch in the NFL. You've got the Odell Beckham one-handed catch.
4th and 18, then. 4th and 18.
And that's the key part of it. It wasn't just it was a great catch. We're not talking about a 1st and 10 here. We're talking 4th and 18. The game's over if he doesn't catch that. And he's got no right to catch it. 2 things. One, he's playing, that's my ball, you're not playing, which is just a mindset that is phenomenal. And these guys have that in them. Importantly, he made 2 more catches after that on the same drive, which were equally brilliant. I mean, the one on the goal line is just an unbelievable catch because he gets smashed as soon as he gets the ball and he holds on. But when you talk about great catches in the NFL, you talk about Odell Beckham, one-handed catch against the Cowboys, and you talk about David Tyree, the helmet catch in the Super Bowl. They're the 2 that stand out to me. And Jefferson's was a mix of both. He almost, one-handedly pins it to something to just keep it off the floor. It was unbelievable. It really was fantastic to watch. Magic
stuff. So obviously we've done things a little bit differently this week because we don't normally review games. Normally we do all of that sort of wrapped up in the package, and we just thought that this week it was important not to do that. This week it was important to make sure that we spoke about those games absolutely brilliantly. But that does mean that we're now at the point where we do need to preview the games, and some of the stuff that we've already spoken about is going to come up again in just a few minutes' time. So on the way on Utter Punts, we are going to be doing the game previews. We are going to be talking about the Nook and Broom. We are going to be talking about how you can get a free pint in Bramwell in South Manchester very, very shortly. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share with a friend. Utter Punts Pod and Utter Punts UK. That's on Twitter and Instagram. Right, okay, so let's take a look, shall we, at the games that we want to preview this week. We always do this every week. We look at the games that are going to be on the TV. We could sit here for an extra 45 minutes and do every game in the NFL. We've made the decision that actually the ones that you can watch, the ones that are available here in the UK without you having to fork out masses and masses of money for a Game Pass subscription or, whatever it might be, you will be able to watch these on your Sky TV if you've already got a Sky Sports subscription. We're going to start with the Thursday late game, Titans at Packers. As we heard in the roundup, Aaron Rodgers may just have found a target man that he can use, Dave. He was actually surprisingly good at rallying his side to a victory last week.
Okay, so first of all, the Cowboys had a lot of injuries in their secondary. Second of all, Aaron Rodgers is still class. Like the more Packers fans get on his back and blame him, and maybe he doesn't deal with the inconsistencies and the frankly illogical decisions that are made by that back office, and it occasionally gets him down. He's still Aaron Rodgers. He's still going to find a little bit of magic from somewhere, and he can do it much better when they're actually running the ball straight up the gut of the Cowboys, preventing probably the best pass rusher in terms of talent in the league, Micah Parsons, from actually getting any pressures in the game. It's probably not sustainable for them to the same degree. I think that Mike McCarthy still played into their hands. I don't think it was a particularly good decision in overtime in that game. I don't think that the Packers are going to be bouncing back in too big of a way, but it's still Aaron Rodgers. He'll probably sneak into the playoffs. It'll probably be the Vikings versus the Packers in the first game of the playoffs, and they beat us, and it's all a bitterly disappointing season. Oh, man. You've depressed me now.
We did nothing.
Like, you just set me off on a train of thought, and I've come to the natural Vikings conclusion. I'm sorry, Vikings fans. That's going to happen.
Forget the Vikings fan. You need to apologise to me and Dan for having to listen to that diatribe when we never even asked for it.
First things first, the Vikings will only lose to a team with a good pass rush, and the Green Bay Packers haven't got that. So don't worry, you'll beat the Packers. This shit. One game doesn't change anything, and they were getting wiped off the face of the map by the Cowboys with 12 minutes to go. It was 28-14. The Cowboys were doing at will what they wanted to do, and he found a bit of magic. But Christian Watson dropped 3 passes on the first drive, which were absolute shockers. He was wide open, and they had no choice but to keep going to him. So I think they found it by accident. I don't think Aaron Jones is fully healthy, although he did have a good game. It doesn't look right, and the line didn't look right still, and their defensive line looked awful. So just a bit on the Titans. The Titans never get any love, do they? Like the number 1 seed in the AFC last year. They've been whacked a couple of times this year by very good teams, but they haven't been healthy at all. So Tannehill's been in and out of the game. They've had a rookie playing. Their last 6 games, they've conceded 17, 17, 10, 10, 20. That was against the Chiefs, and 10. They don't give big points up the Titans. Whoever they're playing, wherever they are, they're not easy to beat. They should have beat the Chiefs 2 weeks ago. Let's have nothing about it. They lost 2017 in overtime. They should have won that game, and they haven't given up 20 points against anybody else, or 20 points in regular time for the last 7 weeks. I don't see them giving up it here. This is going to be a 2017 game either way, and I'll take Titans with the points all day long with Derrick Henry. Thank you.
I agree wholeheartedly with that.
Yeah, I think what's interesting for me is that when you talk about teams getting love, they're quite unfashionable, aren't they, the Titans?
Very much so.
Derrick Henry gets plenty of love because he's a monster. He's an absolute animal, and therefore, as an individual, he stands out. But actually, he's backed up pretty well by a team that, steady away, and sometimes slow and steady wins the race.
It is. They are. I would argue and say they're probably consistently the best coached team in the league, and they're overcoached. They overperform their positions massively. Derrick Henry wouldn't be Derrick Henry if he didn't have the line in front of him and the people around him to get, and the people to make the space. He is a specimen, but everyone knows.
It was kind of proven last season, wasn't it, when he got injured and they were still able to run the ball effectively. But he still gives them another gear. I mean, he is an impressive unit. The guy's he's intelligent as well as huge.
Which means that they're not just hard to beat on defense, but they can hurt you on offense. And I think they are balanced. And with Tannehill, Treylon Burks was back last week, so they drafted Treylon Burks, the rookie. He came from Arkansas, did he, Dave?
Yeah, I think it might have been
something like that, wasn't it?
He's
been injured. He had turf toe, so he's been out for 6 weeks. He was back last week, and I think he might give them a bit of a dimension on offense. Listen, the week before, their wide receivers had no catches 2 weeks ago, not one. And last week, at least, I think Nick Westbrook had a couple of catches. He scored a couple of touchdowns, and Burks looked good. So if they can get a bit of balance on, sort of longer downs, it'll help them. But for me, the point spread's wrong. The Packers are favourites. Don't get it. Titans plus 3.5 points. Derrick Henry to get over 115 combined, 5-4. I'll have that.
All right. Okay, so predictions and bets time then. That's what we do. Every game that we preview, we give you a prediction on who we think is going to win, and we give you a bet where we think the value is going to be. You might have already had a bit of an insight into where you think we're going to go with this one. Dave, Titans or Packers?
I've had Titans with the points, and you were right about Arkansas. I checked.
Dan, Titans or Packers?
Go Badgers. I'm going with Titans plus 3.5.
I'm going to go Titans too. So value for money?
Derrick Henry, 115 yards total, so passing and receiving. Rushing and receiving, 5-4. Or you just go Titans plus 3.5. But I think
they're going to keep running it down the Packers' throats. Exactly. No doubt about it.
Yeah. License to print money, right there. Right, moving on. Sunday 6:00 is Eagles at Colts, but that means that we get to bring you our partnership with the Nook and Broom. The Nook and Broom is a pub in Bramall, which is in Stockport, which is just south of Manchester. They're belting, really lovely group of people, but they are also an NFL venue, which is why we're partnered with them. So they will show the 6:00, 9:25 games. The kitchen will be open if you want to go down for your tea. For the early game, won't necessarily be for the late game, but every week they do an offer. So for example, last week, anytime touchdown scorer, we picked the touchdown scorer. If we get it right, you get free beer. Now, bearing in mind that last week we picked from the Bills Vikings game, a defensive turnover touchdown, and it came in, ladies and gentlemen, and it came in.
For the Vikings, Dan. For the Vikings.
The best pick I think I've ever heard. Absolutely astonishing. What's the deal with the Nook and Broom this week, Dan?
Touchdown scorers again. They're quite happy for us to keep getting it right, I think. So they're just going to keep pumping us in. So we need to find a touchdown scorer in the Eagles via the Colts. I've got a bit of an idea on that. And then obviously one in the Cowboys Vikings, which I will probably let Dave pick, I think.
Right, let's go Eagles Colts then. Let's talk about the game. Eagles bouncing back from that defeat. We were talking about whether or not they would benefit from getting a bloody nose last week from the Commanders. Is this the game, Dave, that they bounce back and put a right leather in on the Colts?
I was speaking to Dan about this earlier when he proposed a bet on this game, and I don't know. See, the thing is,
what have you two been up to?
The thing is, and this is the thing, the Colts under Jeff Saturday are undefeated. You're only as good as your last game, and the Eagles lost. There's a little bit of a momentum swing. There's far too many points going towards the Colts in this. When they've just put Matt Ryan back in, they've got Taylor hit over 21 miles per hour for the first time this season, and he hadn't been getting there. He did it like 6 times last year. So he's finally hitting his first gear. He's finally hitting his first gear again. Like
Matt Ryan had a 39-yard run.
I don't want to call it outright, but I should have called the Vikings outright over the Bills. I should have called the Commanders outright over the Eagles. I bottled it and went with the points.
Keno, you know that phrase, don't you? Shoulda, woulda, coulda are the last words of a fool.
You're not wrong. So this time around, I think Taylor will be my nomination for the anytime touchdown scorer, and I'm going to go with the Colts to upset the Eagles again.
I knew that was where it was going. You absolute mentalist. That is surely that. Talk some sense into him, Dan.
Yeah, I'm going to this time because every week I send Dave a bet that I'm dead confident on, and he sends one back and goes, "Oh, I'm not sure about that." And and every now and again it's a bit of self-doubt creeps in. I go, "Has he got a point?" So I research it. This week I put the Eagles in. He said, "No, I'm not having it, mate." One of those runs, Matt Ryan did a 39-yard run against that Raiders defense. That's how bad that Raiders defense is, right?
Yeah, but no one was on him. Like, how many people would bother to allocate
put anybody in, would you? Because he's 55 years old and he's a wooden donkey.
But do you think that the Eagles are suddenly going to decide that they need to leave a linebacker on quarterback sneak the whole time because of that 39 yard? Exactly. So it's still possible again.
But I do think the Eagles are slightly better than the Raiders.
Slightly.
And
only slightly.
As such, I can't see anything other than it. The Colts will run at the Eagles, but surely after what happened on... My thinking is, any sort of coaching staff, and I think the Eagles coaching staff has got some talent, they will have looked at Monday night and gone, well, we need to fix that, don't we? Because we've got Jonathan Taylor. So they'll have a plan for Taylor. They have to have a plan for Taylor. I know it's a short week, but they've got to have a plan, and they've got enough talent on their line to stop Jonathan Taylor, because everybody else has managed to stop him so far this year, other than the Raiders.
Okay. Do they have enough talent on their line to stop him when?
Well, you
Jordan
can put
Davis
Montez
is
Sweat as you can put Montez Sweat in there to fill the line as a blocking linebacker and take him out of the game, because what else are they going to do?
Well,
So
really, they're going to send Matt Ryan on design QB runs. I mean, it's obvious, mate.
This is no.
But
Let's put a stop to this.
And actually,
this nonsense.
And actually, we've talked the last few weeks about some double-figure handicaps like the Commanders and like the Titans at the Chiefs. This isn't anywhere near that. It's 5.5, which I think is cheap. I think buying the Eagles cheap. I don't know what they've really done the Eagles to deserve to be disrespected like that, but they're by far the better team. Stephen Gilmore played well.
3-1 on though, man, and it doesn't feel like they're a 3-1 on team.
What?
Well, last week they were the best team in the NFL, so, and the Colts were the worst team in the NFL. Hiring a host
to the Commanders. That's what they've done to be disrespected.
I think losing a divisional game in that fashion, in the fashion they lost it in, as we discussed, I'm going to give them a pass until they show me something different. And I'd not given the Colts anything. They might have had a 1 week boost. Their line definitely played better under Jeff Saturday. There's no doubt they played better. The defense actually showed up. Stephen Gilmore made some plays. I mean, you even forgot he was there. And my thinking on this game is that Stephen Gilmore will probably try and cover AJ Brown, because the game plan from the Colts will be, well, the Commanders took AJ Brown away and the Eagles struggled, right? So they'll probably try and take AJ Brown away. I think Devontae Smith's going to have a massive game, and I think he's my tip for touchdown scorer.
All right, okay. So let's get predictions done first. Jeez, Dave. Eagles at Colts. Dan, Eagles or Colts?
Eagles 37, Colts 17.
All right, I'm going Eagles as well, because I just can't see how a slightly hurt Eagles side is going to do anything other than snap back at the Colts. Dave?
Dallas Goedert's now on injured reserve. Who else have they got at tight end? I'm going to stick with my position.
You're going Colts, aren't you?
I'm happy going with the Colts. Outright.
All right.
Don't even need the points.
We'll do the anytime touchdown scorer. We've got to make a decision on that in a minute. First, the bet. Where do we think the value is?
Well, it's hard to say with Dave being in such a mood, isn't it? But I saw the Eagles minus 6.5 and over 45 points in the game at 3-1, because you sometimes you take a bird team over a cat team, but you definitely take a bird team over a horse team. I mean,
yeah, 100%.
It's a horse. It's silly.
Yeah, backing horses is a mugs game. Absolute mugs game. Okay, so anytime touchdown scorer. AJ Brown.
No, they'll take him away. That's the point. So they'll take him away. So you go Eagles run team. So you go Sanders, Gainwell. Oh, I think Devontae Smith, because I think he'll be open. I think he'll run wild in that backfield. But I'll bow to knowledge it won't be a turnover, this one.
Dave.
Matt Ryan 40-yard run scramble from halfway.
I think that, in all seriousness, Brown's still coming back from injury and he's not quite right yet. Yeah. Otherwise, I'd probably go with Liam. I think you're right, though. They might well see him as a bigger threat and send coverages his way. If we're going to go with a wide receiver and we're going to go with an Eagles player, against my sage advice, then I would probably go with Smith. So, yeah, go with that.
All right, so Devontae Smith then.
Cool. Thanks, Dave.
Magic. Look, bearing in mind that that's taken us like 3 days to get through Eagles at Colts, like that's the kind of mood that he's in.
It's a great game.
I just want to talk about one of the other 6 o'clock games, because I think there's an opportunity for everybody if they get on quick. So the Bills-Browns game in Buffalo, it's going to be a snow game.
37 inches of snow expected.
Yeah.
So my cousin's obviously over here. Obviously his family are back they're in Buffalo, and it's coming. There's no doubt. The bookies haven't changed the line. You can get 41 points under in the Bills-Browns game.
Mental.
So on Sky Bet, and I've checked other sites as well, no one's moved the line really yet. You can move it up even and get 4-7 under 44 points.
I'm lumping on.
I'm just logging in right now, to be honest.
Dave's on the app.
I would guarantee that by Saturday that line's 37, 36. I mean, may even come down lower than that.
It'll come down lower, yeah.
Those snow games are a nightmare, especially in Buffalo. Get on in that 6 o'clock game. That's something we're going to put in our treble as well, even though it's not a Sky game, because we just think it will be on Sky, because they'll keep showing people doing snow angels and stuff.
Of course they will.
But under points in that, please.
I don't think you. I mean, they say 37 inches of snow. Look, just to be absolutely clear, that's just over 3 feet of snow, 1 meter of snow. That would mean that you couldn't open your front door without and get out of it. That's the level of snowfall that we're talking about here. It's absolutely nuts.
And you have fairly gusty wind as well, so you cannot throw the ball in that game. And actually, it might play probably into the Browns' hands that they're sort of set up for that sort of game. And actually, you can get 2-1 on the Browns plus 7.5 on Sky Bet. Browns plus 7.5 and under 47 points is a 2-1 on Sky Bet as a match combo. So I'd steer to that as well, because if Bills might win, but it's one of those games that doesn't matter.
Good stuff. Moving on to the 9:25 game on Sunday is the Dallas Cowboys at the Minnesota Vikings. They're on the television again, Dave. Never off TV. It's because you're so good, clearly. We need to talk about the game. We need an anytime touchdown scorer, Justin Jefferson, and we need a bet. So, Dan, do you want to go first?
I don't really. I think both of these teams are lined up to get beat in the playoffs quite quickly. Who do I least believe in the most, I suppose, is the question. The Cowboys, I've not liked them from the start, and I know they've had a good record, but they've not beaten anybody. And when they play somebody that's even got half of a threat, they get shown up. And Green Bay beat them, so they can't be that good. The Vikings can't beat anyone with a decent pass rush. Buffalo caused them endless problems in the first half, and they had half their pass rush missing. So Vikings have got flaws, which actually Dallas might be able to expose. Dallas got a decent pass rush, except when they play the Packers, apparently, where it disappears completely. Just don't think you can trust either of these teams. What I do trust is that the Vikings have got firepower, and the Vikings can score points, and I think that makes them favourites for me, and they're not. Cowboys are favourites, unbelievably, considering what the Vikings have just done. Give me the Vikings all day long.
Yeah, it's 2 points, isn't it, I think?
Yeah.
So the Cowboys lost an overtime game to the Packers. The Vikings won, a surprising, emotional game. Normally in the NFL, the team coming off a high point loses and the team coming off a low point wins. It's weird how it works that way, but it just does, particularly when the Vikings are involved. I can't really see us winning an 8th game in a row. Can you?
Yeah. 8
games in a row?
How are Dallas going to beat you?
All within a single score. And it's almost like they're resilient. It's almost like they've got the soon to be reigning head coach of the year. Yeah, I'll go with the Vikings. Why not?
I asked Dan to go first because I thought he might wind you up, but instead of that happening, we've just had literally no pushback at all and total agreement in everything that he's just said. Fair enough.
Well, I tried. I tried to come up with a way of arguing with what he came up with, but what I will say is this: CD Lamb came out in the same draft class as Jefferson. CD Lamb might well be wanting to prove a point after Jefferson's heroics last week. Dak might want to be trying to help him out. Maybe CD Lamb's a touchdown candidate. Tony Pollard definitely is against that run defense.
Is Dak to CD Lamb any more potent than Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs, who you just beat? That's my point. Is what can Dallas do that Buffalo didn't just do, and you just beat them? And surely Buffalo are better. So, take out the fact that you don't think they can win 8 on the bounce. If you just look at form and the team, who's the better team? It's the Vikings.
There is
we've definitely got the best head coach. I agree with that.
There is 100% something that you haven't taken into account, and it's because you've been sold.
Are you talking Kirk?
I am talking
coming
about
back.
Eventually,
A return of the Kirk.
Eventually,
as opposed to Kirko.
Cousins is going to go Pete Cousins and cost
Did you not
something.
see what happened against the Bills, mate?
No, just.
He threw 2 picks he should never have thrown. Apparently, we're good enough now to overcome refs and Kirk Cousins, which is why Kevin O'Connell's coach of the year.
But okay, so here's the holy trinity of death to Kirk Cousins. Okay, 9:00 game in the UK, terrible. Primetime standalone game in America, terrible. Lights are on. Pass rush against a decent pass rush, terrible. Expected to win, terrible. This is the Kirk Cousins holy trinity of doom. That's the only thing that could stop you.
That was 4 things. That's worse than a trifecta, isn't it? Right. Okay.
Quadruped.
Is there such a thing?
Quadruped's a 4-legged animal. We'll go with it.
Picks. Cowboys or Vikings? Dan Horton.
Give me the Vikings.
Yeah,
Purple.
give me the Vikings as well. I can't see any other result. Dave?
I don't need to contribute. You're just saying things that I like to hear at the moment.
Looking
Carry on.
so smug, drunk on
Aye.
that Viking juice. It's unbelievable. Clearly had too many horns of mead, Dave.
Giant's milk.
I think there's a decent bet in this game, which is both teams to score 20 points. Because I think it might just open up later on, and that's 6-4 on Sky Bet. So both teams to score 20 points, regardless of the result. And actually, that's probably safe because it's probably not something you'd bet on really as an outcome.
Cool. Right, moving. Anytime touchdown scorer. We didn't do that, did we?
Dave,
You think Tony Pollard?
Yeah, if we're going to go with a Cowboys player, it'd be Pollard. If we're going to go with a Vikings player, I mean, Jefferson only got one last week.
what about the tight end, Dave, against the
Hawkinson?
the Cowboys? Yeah,
Against Cowboys. Yeah, I could see that. We're going to probably try and get him a ball more. He was reliable when we threw to him and got fouled a lot in the red zone.
I like
those
TJ as well.
Yeah, I'll go with Hawkinson.
All
I'm
right.
happy with that.
TJ Hawkinson for the 9.
I'm pretty sure we're going to have 7 different touchdown scorers anyway.
It's going to be
kind of a point, yeah.
Many. Right, this is an opportunity. Sunday late game. It's an opportunity for us to explain how the picks for TV work more than anything else. So this game, at the time of recording, is everywhere as the Bengals game. Okay?
Yeah.
But it's not going to be the Bengals game because the TV companies have done something called flexing out and they've changed it to the Chargers Chiefs. Dan, can you explain what that means and how that works?
Yeah, so every year, but the TV companies get a contract with sort of which games they can show. So some of them have Sunday Night Football, some have Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, some of them have the 6 o'clock games, 9 o'clock games. The company with the rights to Sunday Night Football have the right to flex it a game in and out with permission of the NFL. So nobody really wants to watch the Bengals smash the Steelers. I'll watch it because it's funny. And they get the chance to move the Chiefs Chargers into that primetime slot instead. So that's what they'll do. And they'll do that late. They'll do that as the season goes. So that the Sunday night products you've got to remember that the Sunday night late game here, the 1 o'clock in the morning, Sunday night, Monday morning game is the American primetime game. That's America's game of the week. So it has to be a headline game. They want to make it a great game because that has to be a great product because that's the most expensive product. So that's your 12:30 Saturday kickoff. It's always good games. Or the Sunday 4 o'clock Premier League game. You know, that's the one. That's the game of the week.
So interestingly enough, next year they're going to be able to do the same thing with Monday Night Football, but
Absolutely,
they can't this year.
Yeah.
So what that means is they flexed out Bengals Steelers and
Go Bengals.
in its place they've put Chargers Chiefs. Now
Chiefs.
that's a you would have looked at this at the beginning of the season. I'm going to qualify myself. You would have looked at this at the beginning of the season and gone, "Oh, tasty old fixture." Now looking at that, and I've got to be honest, I'm looking at a fairly one-sided affair, aren't we? The Chargers aren't doing as well as we thought they were going to do, and the Chiefs are just better. Dave, you're laughing at me already. Go on.
Same as last week, mate. Straight away as you go, we're just looking at a one-sided affair. I'm not sure, mate. And the reason I'm not sure is because the Chargers' backs are now against the wall. They're going to have to produce everything in their playbook to try and get a result because otherwise the season's slipping away. They're falling to 5-4 now in a tough division that they need to get a win from somewhere. If they go to 500 at this point, and I don't think that Herbert's ribs are getting that much better week in, week out. They could be in trouble down the stretch. I think they're going to throw everything at this. I think you're going to see them gambling on 4th downs. I think that the analytics will probably be thrown out the window and Staley will be coaching from the seat of his pants and gambling on pretty much everything. And I think that gives the Chargers a chance, but it could go very much the other way as well. So either really, really tight or a massive blowout, yeah.
Last year, the Chargers swept them. Just checked it. So the last 4 games have been Chiefs 27, Chargers 24 in Kansas City. In overtime last year was Chiefs 34, Chargers 28. That was the Travis Kelce game, if you remember, when he scored two late on. And the 2 games before that were Chargers 30, Chiefs 24, Chargers 38, Chiefs 21. They play them close, the Chargers, because they go toe-to-toe with them. So Herbert is that confident that he'll go toe-to-toe with Mahomes. The problem this time is there's no Keenan Allen and there's no Mike Williams still. So that they haven't got anyone for him to give the ball to, really, on a long-term thing. Although
Allen is questionable. He might play.
Yeah. he's not been right, has he? All year he had a hamstring going into the year. I think they tried to play him early, and he's not come back from it. So whether they need him in this game, I think they do, because I think if they lose this game, I think they're in trouble with the playoff run, especially with where the AFC East is looking. They can't drop sort of 2 games behind the Patriots and Dolphins and teams like that. So they need to go all out to win the Chargers, and they'll have a go at it, and I think there'll be a lot of points. But the way the Chiefs are looking at the moment, I mean, I'm sat here as somebody that backed to the 49ers Chiefs Super Bowl and feeling fairly confident with myself at the moment. And the way Kadarius Toney's joined the Chiefs and just picked the ball up. And there was a catch at the weekend, if you saw it, where he's adjusting his gloves as the ball's in the air and then jumps up and catches the ball. I mean, that is some sort of legend. But he seems to have got the thing where, and Tyreek Hill had this, where Mahomes scrambles, and he scrambles a lot, that they don't run the normal routes. They do like an air raid drill, so they all just run in different directions. Now, Toney seems to have picked up where Mahomes wants him to run without sort of communication. That is going to hurt people down the stretch. He's going to have a big impact for the Chiefs, I think. And Juju Smith-Schuster might be out. He got a bad hit to the head.
That was terrible, yeah.
It was definitely targeting. They were trying to take him out with dirty. But so I think Toney will have more of a role to play, plus Kelsey, plus MVS, plus Hardman, plus the 17 running backs they've got. I mean, it's hard to see the Chargers keeping up with it. The Chargers' defensive line is injured as well. Joey Bosa's still not back. Hard to see anything other than history tells you the Chargers will drive them close, but give me the Chiefs.
Yeah, Chiefs for me as well. That would be my prediction. So Dan's gone Chiefs. I've gone Chiefs. Keno.
I'm gonna go with the Chargers plus points. How many points have they got? They must have a good few this time around.
Only 6.
I'll still take it. Why not? I think they're going to play them close and with the points. Yeah, I mean, take it either way. Chiefs to win or Chargers with the points.
My favourite thing about doing utter punts is you never know which Dave Keane you're going to get. Some days you get agreeable Dave. Some days you get confrontational Dave. And this week we've got contrary Dave. And it's absolutely brilliant. I love it. You wonderful ginger human.
I do apologise.
Don't apologise.
I just feel like this time around, let's put the chips on the table and make sure that regardless of what happens, we can claim that someone got it right.
That's it. He's playing the system. That's exactly what he's doing. Look, finally, and we are running out of time, so let's do 49ers at Cardinals. The Niners, even like I said in the package, even when you think what you're going to get is an insight into that fantastic front line that they've got, and Christian McCaffrey going nuts and Deebo Samuel back, and it's all going to be offense. Actually, it was the defense that won them the game, and I have a funny feeling that they're so good on both sides of the ball at the moment, the Niners, that the Cardinals are going to struggle here, Dan, aren't they?
The Cardinals would struggle against themselves. They're that bad. I mean, they beat the Rams on Sunday. Well done, John Walford and the banged up, Rams. Yeah. I mean, they're done. The Rams, they're absolutely cooked. The Cardinals are a bit of a joke. I don't know what they're doing well. They're a hard watch. The Cardinals and the Niners to me look like a proper grown up professional team heading into the playoffs. And I know their record doesn't quite show it yet, and they're sort of in the mire of the NFC, but for me, they look like a team that can go all the way. They've almost put Christian McCaffrey on ice. They've said, right, we've seen what you can do. We're going to hide you now until sort of December, January time. We're not going to play Elijah Mitchell, their initial first lead running back for the start of the season, was back at the weekend, and I think he rushed 15 times for 89 yards. So they just ran him as a hammer. They didn't need to use McCaffrey. Deebo came back, but they didn't need to use him to full strength, so he's had a bit of extra time to rest. They've got Kittle coming back. Their defense is starting to come back. So Fred Warner was back, although he got ejected from the game for a fairly ridiculous sort of hit. But he'll be back. That front looks good. The secondary looks good. This Hufanga fella in safety just looks an absolute phenomenon. He's like Troy Polamalu playing at the back there. I don't see a weakness in the 49ers other than the quarterback. But I think even with those with those players around him, I don't think it needs much of a Jimmy G average game for them to score 25 points a game, and their defense won't concede that many. So they're a balanced team. They do everything right. They're well coached. For me, Niners probably the safest bet of the week, I would think, which means they're going to get beat.
Dave's got a look on his face. There's a look on his face.
That's just something I'm saving for a little bit later on.
Is he just holding fire for nominations in a little moment? Are you going to go with anything different to what Dan said for the Niners Cardinals, Dave?
On this occasion, I will be contrary by not being
I
contrary.
love the fact that you are being so nonconformist. Well
Selective contrarianism.
done. I'm going Niners. Dan's going
Niners.
and Dave's going.
Niners.
Yeah, all the way through. Where's the value, Dan?
There isn't much, really, because the Niners are favourites and they'll win. Niners to win and over 43 points is the line, which I think is just over even money. That's probably worth a go because it's a standalone game on Monday night.
Lovely stuff. That brings us to our bet of the week. You two have been conspiring in the background. What have you come up with this week?
All for the good of the public.
Yeah,
Liam, all for
you
the
say
public.
you say that, but there has been a conspiratorial edge to the pair of you for this podcast.
So we've gone. We're on Sky Bet. You can get under 44.5 points in the Buffalo Cleveland game as an alternate match points 2, which is 8-15. We've gone over 39.5 points in Vikings Dallas, so
Yep,
40
that's
points in the game. And we've gone the Chiefs standalone, no points, no nothing against the Chargers. And that pays just under 3-1 as a treble, which I think is beautiful.
Take that all day. Wonderful
But
stuff.
I'd get on quick because that
Yeah,
Bills
that
line's
line's
going to
gonna
drop
move.
like
It's
a
gonna
rock.
move.
Yeah.
Right, as we get there, the hooter goes for the 2-minute warning, and it brings us to our utter punts of the week nominations. Where are we, Dave? He's absolutely desperate. I'm going to make him wait. Dan?
I was desperate to hear Dan's.
Do you want me to go first then?
Yeah.
All right, I'll go first. I'm going to go with Brad Rodgers. He was the referee in the Chiefs-Jags game this weekend where Juju Smith-Schuster got that clear targeting helmet-on-helmet tackle from Andre Sisco. He went straight into the fencing posture as well, which is that thing where if you have a trauma to the brainstem, your body sort of completely tenses up to prevent you from getting any further injury. He then even came out afterwards, Brad Rodgers, to say, after discussion on the field, the two officials came in and determined that the defender had set and braced for impact and hit shoulder to shoulder. They didn't feel it was a use of a helmet foul. Clear targeting, clearly should have been dealt with, clearly wasn't. Brad Rodgers, utter punt of the week.
Go on,
Cool.
Dave.
Would you like me to? I'll go next. Okay, so I nearly brought it up in the conversation about the last game, but it's utter punt of the week, but I also find it hilarious. So we've mentioned it in the past that there's a certain quarterback who had to have it written into his contract that he had to do homework, film study for 4 hours a week. That was then removed when it was pointed out to the public, and it was considered embarrassing to both the Cardinals and to Kyler Murray. But the new Call of Duty game out, the new Warzone, is being released this week, and Kyler Murray somehow has a mysterious hamstring injury, and I can only assume...
He's sat on Warzone with his pals.
I mean, it's not his fault. He's injured, but hamstring injury?
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to know what grade tear that is. That's my nomination, Kyler, because I'm pretty sure you've got to jump on Warzone, and basically you are spending your time grinding guns, much to the detriment of your football team. And I think that you got a big contract. You know Kingsbury is more likely to be sacked than you are to be moved out of the club. So you can take this year off and just play Warzone 2. Carry on, mate. I love it.
I love this zero evidence based.
Oh, none at all. Just a massive leap.
I think
it's all allegedly and kind of.
Actually, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to jump on Warzone and just keep playing until I find him. I think that's what we're going to do. Dan, your nomination?
My nomination is Liam Bradford.
Oh, what have I done now?
So during the best game of the season and the highlight of one of the greatest catches we've ever seen, I'm going to read you the text thread from the group.
No.
Which starts off
doing? I
with,
can just fade you out. It's just going to be much easier.
starts off with Dave Keane, holy F. Me, that's David Tyree level. Think that's as good as I've seen. Wow. Liam, explain it. Wife took control and all of a sudden I'm a celeb's on. Rest my case.
I've got.
It's like you don't own a PC.
I've got nothing. There's just no excuse. I'm so tense. See you later, Dave. Thank you very much indeed. It's appreciated.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
Pleasure.
And an out a punt of the week is definitely me. See you next week, ladies and gents.